I'm excited about this. Yes! Sorry, I got carried away. Let's get back to it. I'm sorry. Everybody, welcome to the Mike Bocchetti Show, our first show, and I'm really excited. I want to bring on our first guest who you can love. She's an amazing person as well. I know Madison for a bunch of years now. She's an actress, writer, comedian, and she also had worked in finance on Wall Street. Yeah. The great Madison Malloy. Hey, Maddie.
What's going on?
Maddie, I wanted to ask you, I know you worked in finance, right? And you've been in comedy for years. And we both which is more brutal, showbiz or the finance world?
Probably showbiz, because it doesn't have like a base salary. So, you're really slinging it. But yeah, probably showbiz. There's not as much of a direct path. It's kind of a very unknown, which causes a lot of angst and anxiety. So you really have to love it, and also really get a grasp on what you can control and what you can't.
This is awesome, Matt, because I was going to ask you, Maddie, how long did it take you to write your book?
So I had the idea for a long time after I was able to get over all my kind of self-sabotage hurdles, I want to call them. And just living kind of a miserable life that I was trying to escape from. And I would kind of write down the areas of things I was able to improve upon and things of that sort. But I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to start. And I prayed to God. Prayer is a huge thing for me.
They're very powerful. They really are.
Very powerful. It was more powerful for me than the law of attraction, and they're both very similar, and we can talk about that. It's believing in something that you can't see, but you have faith that it's there. So for some people, it's the law of attraction. They can be like, okay, I have faith that I'm going to have this job, that I'm going to have this car, this house, this spouse, whatever it is. And then you just believe it. You don't question it. But yeah, so I basically went to I ended up in a mastermind. Somebody told me get to Mexico. 3 days later, I was in Mexico at a mastermind retreat with all these doctors and CEOs. And we were there for a week, and it was this intimate gathering. And there happened to be a publisher there, and we met. I showed him my idea and what I had and what I wanted to do. And 5 months later, the book was out. Power of prayer. I'm not kidding. I don't know how everything happened. There's certain things now in my life that are showing up that I'm going, I can't explain this. I don't know how these things are falling in my lap. It's just, I'm going with the flow. I'm relaxing, and I'm open to any opportunity. I'm not closed off anymore. I'm not saying, I know Mike introduced me as an actress. I do not identify as an actress. I'm not.
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm just going to ask you.
The money, trust me, I'm a capitalist, though. I'm a pure fucking capitalist. So if the money showed up, I would become an actor. But no, I'm more of an author and a speaker. People are still trying to drag me back into comedy. I'm kind of not really doing it, but well, comedy is like anything. It's the attitude you go in with. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be blocks. There's going to be self-doubt. If you're not confident, obviously you're not going to take the risk you need. You're not going to be willing to try new things. That was a thing for me for a long time. You start defaulting back to the old material, and then you're never growing. I know. But it is brutal. But if you have a positive attitude and you're not engaging in the drama and you're having fun with it, it's a really great environment. I would say comedy was a very positive experience for me overall. I met wonderful people, Mike Bocchetti being one of them.
Oh, thank you, Maddie, because
wonderful people that I never would have crossed paths with.
You know what I mean? You can't manufacture funny.
No, I think you're just kind of born with it, right? I was born with a naughty mouth, a naughty head. I'm I just think I'm just a pervert. I don't know why. There's literally nothing holding us back in this world except for us, right? So we sit there and we wait around for people to say yes. We wait for the agents. We wait for the casting directors. We wait for the film directors. We wait for everything. And the reality is there's so many other ways to do things yourself, right? And make money to where you can be moving yourself forward while all that other stuff is waiting behind it. You would have more confidence and feel better and feel more relaxed if every day you were working towards a goal you wanted to achieve. Even if 1 hour a day, you just say, okay, I'm going to work on this book. I'm going to outlay my chapters, and then I'm going to find out my target market, and then I'm going to write my other chapter, and you're going to be great. And now apparently I just became a life coach. So how we doing?
Good, Matt, because those guys probably want to kill me on the end of this. You know, my friend comics want to
I
murder me now.
thought we were talking. I thought you were like, come on and let's talk about dating.
No, because this is much better. Because I remember you wrote the book, and then I was like, what do you call it? So I figured this would be much better for the show, and we'd all get to learn something cool.
Perfect. I was like, I have a ton of dating disasters. I've been in this city eating for free for like 6 weeks. It's been wonderful.
Well,
my pants don't fit, but
where can we find your book? I'm so sorry.
So you go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like find the book there. Time to lighten the fuck up. This is like a packet of books. So sorry, it's like wrapped right now because they're for press.
You were such a great gift. We got a lot out of you.
You can't think of anything when you're like counting to 8 and you're holding in your breath. Like you start, you stop spinning as much, and just remember, like, every shitty thing that may happen to you that you view as shitty, be like, wow, this is happening for me. What am I learning from this, and how is this making me grow? And you will start to propel forward. Another thing too is if you're feeling like a little bit blue and a little bit down, and go get your hormones checked. Get your hormones checked. Not a primary care doctor, because private practice, it's not that much. They will do a full check just to make sure your body and your mind are working. Because I always tell people, I'm like, don't go run and get antidepressants. Make sure your body's working. And then if you still need it, then that's another discussion. But that's another thing too, is like maybe your nervousness and your uptightness and your anxiety it could be coming from maybe a hormonal imbalance. I mean, I had low testosterone and I thought, well, that's fine. I'm a girl. Your body might not be functioning because maybe something's off, maybe something else is going on that you don't know. Mm-hmm. So you can't think properly to then bring in that opportunity. So you got to make that investment, figure out what's going on, get your body in check, and then boom, watch everything else fall into place. I'm telling you, it happened to me. I thought I was falling apart. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was so depressed. I felt suicidal at times. I was like, I was a mess, and I would come off confident, and I was dying on the inside, literally dying. And I found out my vitamin D levels were in the trash. My thyroid wasn't working. My testosterone was in the trash. Women need 200 to 300. Mine was at 19. Like, had the pellets put in, had the thyroid medication, got the vitamin D. Like, my whole life changed. And then was like,
bless you, Maddie. That's amazing.
Started praying. And it was great. So I was also on levothyroxine. So here's the thing. When your primary care doctor, when they run it through insurance, they do a blood test. They test for your T4 levels, okay? Because that's what the insurance covers. Here's the problem. A lot of people that have a thyroid issue, their T4 levels are off. So they'll be put on a levothyroxine. That's what I was on for years. And then I still wasn't feeling that great. Then I went to the private practice and they did a full, like, in-depth panel. And they go, well, your T3 also doesn't work. So the medication you're taking is not addressing the T3. It's only addressing the T4, but the T3 is more of the mood. So you're not going to get that in a regular test. You need to be switched to a different medication. So then I got switched to a different one that's addressing both T3 and T4. So that could be your issue, is that they're not testing T3, and the T3 is the one that's actually more impactful.
Patty, I'm going to have to wrap this up a little bit because these guys want to murder me, I think, on the other end.
I know they are. I'm glad they're not on camera because they're probably going, wrap it up.
I know comics well. Fun for everyone. But Maddie, thank you. It was so good to see you virtually.
Thank you. I'm so excited for you guys. Congratulations. I'm pumped.
I will see you soon, Maddie. Thank you. Okay.
Buy my book. Time to light the fuck up. All right, you guys have a great show, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Maddie. Hold on, next guest. He's a longtime friend. I know him like over 20 years. All my friends I know for a long time. A writer. He wrote for the Howard Stern Show. He also had a show called the Miserable Men Show on Sirius. We go back like at least 20-something years. My good friend, the great Mike Morse.
Oh, yeah. Take your top off now. I'm sorry. I was on another site. Hi. Hi.
I thought you were ready to shoot me.
So glad to be finally hanging out with people with low testosterone. I had plenty of testosterone, but I actually donated most of mine to kids from China and Africa because, it's kind of guy.
Mike got me started in radio when he called out Sirius XM. We had a show called the Miserable Men Show. Mike did.
Yeah. Well, it was Bob Levy, Shuli Agar, Mark Burns, and myself. It was a great time, and you were always amazing.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
All of us, and it's a Stern universe where everybody's ball busters. For Halloween, one time we have this other guy Lenny that we have on quite a bit back then, and so we said everybody's dressing up. So come in your best costume, and of course none of the hosts dressed up, and Lenny and Mike dressed. You were a witch, right?
I was the Wicked Witch of the West.
So he's in the whole regalia, and Lenny's in his whole thing, and so they're sitting there, and it's like everybody else is in their street clothes, and it's like, that's kind of stuff we did. Because
I come in, I was like, oh no, I felt bad enough as the witch because I came into the city dressed like that.
That was the whole thing. Yes.
You are not only a funny man, a great writer, but a brilliant artist. I was going to ask you, Mike, right? Can anybody draw? I don't think anybody can.
Well, I hope not. I'd be out of the job.
No, I'm saying, but it's like an actor or comic, and you have it or you don't, right?
Well, I think especially with drawing, with any kind of artwork, it's you have to start really early. I think comedy you can start a little bit later, but with you have to have the love to draw because it's so slogging to sit, and it's hard enough to write jokes, but to actually draw and just get the practice you need to get good is even harder than getting proficient at comedy.
How old were you started though? Like super young, right?
I drew since I was 5 years old. I was drawing caricatures and stuff.
You're a prodigy.
Well, yeah, if I was a prodigy, I wouldn't be in this shithole. But yeah,
you talk like an 8-year-old for a 5-year-old.
Right. It's like he's almost doubling his age. But it was, and it was fun, and I kind of, stopped doing it while I was, blossoming into comedy, and being on the road. You can't do that kind of stuff. But it's still a fun thing to do, and whenever I can help out people like Mike, who's the best person in the world. I love Mike. Yeah, it is all about knowing where the line goes. So I did that when I was a kid. I remember having tracing paper and tracing over people's faces and stuff, and that's how you learn where things go. And
I would have carpal tunnel.
Well, it's also in comedy, it's like when you first start out, you're kind of imitating the people that you like, right? It's you're taking their influence.
Like, you're always a funny guy since I met you. Were you the class clown in school? I was like terrified of school. I was like, no book reports, please. I was very.
No, I was always the guy who told the class clown what he should do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would be like,
you're like a fuse to a cannon.
Yeah, I would go, it'd be great if you put that tuna sandwich you have in the teacher's desk.
That's my brother. This is about my brother. You know what he would do when we were young? They used to have remember the flyer things you would pull down, the fireman would come?
Yeah.
The red thing. He would tell the other kids in the neighborhood, pull that and the ice cream man will come. That's what he said.
Right. So yeah, you don't want to be the class clown. Yeah, because
you know what he did? What? He goes, if the ice cream man don't come, there'll probably be a guy with a big red truck with some other guys, right? Run up to him and say, where's my chocolate, you know what I mean? Eclair.
Where's my ice cream?
Yeah. They don't show up. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. You have to learn being a good comedian is knowing where to shift the blame. You don't want to get in trouble for it. So it's let these people.
Yeah, but you're super. I was going to ask you because you're very super quick, right? You ever taken any improv classes? I tried for a little while.
In college, I did a few, and I mean they're fun, but it's basically as it's being on stage and having someone yell something at you, and in that moment whether if I don't say anything, the whole rest of the set is turned to crap. So but it is good. It's good practice. Right.
Oh, Mike, you guys got a hot show shooting out the Uncle Rico Show. I want to hear about him.
Oh my goodness, the Uncle Rico Show. It's sweeping the nation, ladies and gentlemen. Please,
no, it is.
It is. Well, I'm telling you, I don't lie to you. I lie to you, but I don't lie to the paying public. And it's amazing. Shuli started it just 3 months ago.
Shuli from Howard Stern show on there for years.
Yeah, and John had been disparaging him while Shuli was working for Stern, and because he was employed by Howard, Shuli couldn't say anything. So once he left the show, he was like, okay, well, if you want to play that, I can do that too. So this is, I don't know if you ever watched the Curb Your Enthusiasm, and this last season of Curb, Larry opens up a Spite store. There's Java Joe. So he next door, he opens up Latte Larry's. Just, he puts, $1 million into the store just to fuck up the other guy next door. And so this is so Shuli just like, well, I'm just going to start making fun of John's podcast on my podcast.
I can't wait to come on and have fun with you guys.
Oh, definitely come on. It's a hoot.
Mike, I'm gonna have to cut. I don't want me to cut you. I just want to. People want to probably strangle me in the back now. I don't know what's going on back there.
Well, I want to strangle you when I'm on the air. So.
I think Christy has the time. I want to bring her up, but listen to me. Tell everybody where they can find you. The Rico Show. You're all over the place.
The Uncle Rico Show. It's on Patreon. It's what is it? I wrote it somewhere here. Oh, here it is. It's the patreon.com/ the Shuli Show. Just go on there. There's some free shows on YouTube as well. I'm on Instagram on Insta Mike Morse, Morse, like the code, and on Twitter on Mike Morse Says, and Miserable Men, another podcast that kicks a little ass, and we'll have to have you on that too, my friend.
Thank you, Mike. Because the thing is, I always surround myself with nice people in this.
I'm glad you made the exception for me. Yeah. Thank you,
Mike. I want to have you come back on soon. It could be a longer time because I will definitely talk to you soon. Thank you a million times over for coming on here.
Mwah. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, I'm gonna go now.
Our next guest is a comedian, and she's a personal trainer, and she's super honest, and you're gonna love her. She's one of my favorite people, the great Christy Miller.
Hey.
We were gonna ask you about working out and stuff a little bit. Like, could a guy like me, Christy, right, still get cut up like Bruce Lee?
No. You could do anything, bro. And, if you want to do it, you could do it. Just put your mind to it. Get off your ass and do something.
See, we were talking about,
But Bruce Lee is dead, so you don't want to look that cut up.
Talking about how everything is a mind-body connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Your central nervous system controls everything. You have to train your central nervous system to do anything. To really detox, you got to really cleanse yourself from the inside out. You have to eat right, eat very clean. Your body's a machine. So if you eat clean and healthy food, your body's going to automatically clean itself out. Going to a hot yoga and sweating like that, it's just sweating water out of your system. Your body's going to automatically clean itself out. It depends on your makeup. It depends on, your body chemistry. If you have any hormonal imbalances, it may not work. Earlier with you guys talking about everybody over 40 has low testosterone. And when a doctor says, oh, it's fine, because that's fine for somebody at that age, but you don't have to necessarily succumb to whatever your age is, and whatever they say so on the books is normal. Just because it's normal doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, it's normal levels when you get older, but do you really have to succumb to getting older? No. Go get some hormone replacement therapy. Do testosterone replacement therapy. I think everybody needs it. Just like what Madison does. She does testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah, they're pellets. They put them into your skin. They're testosterone pellets. Absorbs into your body, and it makes you feel better. You lift weights or work out. You come out of the gym and you're like, oh, I feel so much better. You kind of feel like happier and at peace. Yeah. That's a lot of your stress is not working out, is not training your body, getting those endorphins going.
This is fascinating, but for a guy that's been spent half his life in a deli, this is interesting.
Half your life? Really? Well, what, you there now?
Christy, let me ask you something. In school, were you the class clown? I was terrified in school.
Yes.
Did you get chastised for it or no? Because
I would heckle the teachers. I would add stuff to people if they were speaking in front of the class, and just because it was boring. And I'm like, oh, you suck. I was like, boo, and I would heckle. If you had to do a report out loud in front of class, like you always had to read your reports, I would always heckle somebody or say something and get a big laugh. And when I would do my reports, I would actually write jokes somehow into them or make it funny if I could.
Because most people out in New York are cool. I'm sure you heard when we're talking Madison.
I lived in
Yeah.
LA for 10 years. I was at the Comedy Store for 10 years, and then I came here. I need New York City. I need crazy. I need loud. I need crime. I need all of it, because it makes me feel at peace, because it's loud, it's crazy, it's a great energy. It's like a white noise when someone's getting stabbed. It's beautiful. It makes me feel at peace.
I love roller derbies, kid. I know you played for years. Can you tell me what roller derby's like? I only watched it. I mean, what was it really like? Maybe I explained it wrong, Christy. It was like championship wrestling on skates.
It's more like rugby on roller skates. Do you know what rugby is? It's like rugby, but we're on roller skates, and the girl is the ball, the jammer. We have to get her through the pack. She has to be able to skate through safely.
I wish I could do cartwheels. How funny would that be? Like 10 in a row.
I have a visual now, Mike, now that'll never be wiped out of my brain. When I see you again, Mike, I'm going to make you do a cartwheel. We're going to film it.
Yeah, but Chris Farley could do them good.
Oh, yeah, he was very limber. Just because you're fat doesn't mean you can't do shit. Yeah, but just because you're fat doesn't mean you can't do shit.
I know.
People mistake fat for immobile. I mean, unless you're like my 600-pound life, then you get pretty immobile.
Oh, yeah.
But if you know what I mean, but you're not. No, normal fat's not like that. You can still do shit.
What do you call it? Christy was. I'm going to tell you what happened to you in the city.
Sure.
She's a tough person. Some idiot attacked her on the train. They caught him, right?
No. See, I got punched in the face before it was cool.
Oh, wow.
You know, in 2019, everybody was, like now it's like the cool, everybody's getting hit by a train or punched or attacked. I'm like, I did it way before you guys.
Well,
you guys are such hacks.
They caught the, I thought somebody tackled him.
No. Oh, 3 guys tackled him and beat him up, but he got away because he was all drugged out of his brain.
I love that they tackled him.
Oh, it made me feel so much better because I wanted to tackle him. When I came to, I wanted to kill him. Yeah, it's New York. New York's always going to be New York. New York is just New Yorking. You know what I mean? Like everybody acts like there's crime everywhere. There really isn't. It's the same shit we've dealt with since the beginning of New York City. But now with social media and television, especially with social media and everybody's camera phones, it's in everybody's face. Everybody's blowing it out of proportion. It's not any different. Actually, crime like guns and shootings are down 54% this year. But petty larceny is up, like small robberies, getting mugged, and that's up because people are hungry. People, because they can get away with it. So, and people don't fight back. If we start letting people fight back and not, and criminalizing them for fighting back and beating the shit out of people, that shit will go way down. I carry brass knuckles everywhere I go. I don't give a shit. I know they're illegal, but I carry them, and it really deters a lot of crazy around me. When it comes at me, they see the knuckles and they go, oh shit, my bad. And they leave. So it's, just protect yourself when you're out there. You are a woman. Nobody this country doesn't like women. So they think we're weak and we can't, they think we're weak. We can't make our own decisions and we can't be in charge of anything.
Let me tell you something. In my opinion, girls, ladies, listen, I think, what do you call it? It'll be cool if women had more. I was always a big fan of women since childhood because, maybe that was because I was raised by a great single mom and grandmother. Yeah. You had a strong mom that raised. So did I. I was raised by a single mom. There was no men around to take care of her or do anything. She did everything. My mom crushed it. May she rest in peace. But she killed it, and so. I was raised just to be tough, stand on your own feet, and don't take shit from people. I want to play a quick game. Look at this book. Interesting Stories for Curious People.
Nice.
I'm going to open this page, any page now, Christy. We'll see what interesting is. If it's a good story.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, no. Before Columbus. What a topic. Earlier, we learned how we were given false information by our grade school teachers. They told us the leaders of Europe believed that the earth was flat, and fuck this, I heard this already. I thought they were going to have some juicy stuff about them, you know what I mean? Right. Christy also opened up some super famous comics that I love. Andrew Dice Clay was one. Yeah. And what do you call it? And Paul Mooney was another. Paul Mooney was great. He passed away recently, but he was a brilliant comic and writer. He wrote for like all television shows for years.
Yeah, he's a legend. I have an album coming out at the end of the year.
Let people know.
It's called Christianity, and because comedy's my religion and the comedy club is my church. And it's a wild ride, and it's being edited now. They should be done with it and all the legalities and be out hopefully by the end of the year at the latest. So I'm leaving on a cruise ship this weekend. So that's why I have to go. I got to pack and do some meetings and stuff, but I'm doing comedy on a cruise next week. So I'll be back Thanksgiving.
Nice, because
the album cover.
I was talking to Christy a lot, and I got to meet him a couple of times. And Dice is one of the nicest humans there are. When you see the real Andrew, he's a total
joke, just a doll.
He's one of the nicest people. I'll tell you a good story about him quickly. When I met him, like the fourth or fifth time, he was on the Artie Lang show, and Artie said to him, you disappeared for like 10 years. What happened? And he said, I took 10 years off to raise my sons.
He's a great father. Good man all around. Very good.
I loved him to begin with, but when I heard that, I loved him even more for that. You know what I mean? Because
for everything. Bye, you guys.
Our next guest is a longtime friend. I know him about 20 years. He's a filmmaker, and we're gonna pick his brain a little bit about movies. I know you love movies like I do. My good friend, the great Frank Bonacci.
Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Frank, how you doing? All right?
Doing great, Mike. Yeah, I dropped 70 pounds since the last time.
God bless you. He cut out sugar and stuff.
I had to. I have diabetes these days. I fucked around and found out. I just wanted to say I've been watching the show from the back. Yeah, but getting back to what the other guests were talking about, like in fitness and stuff. Really, I found out. I went to the doctor. I was like, "Oh, you're diabetic." I'm like, "What?" It's like, "How did this happen? I'm only 265 pounds." It's like, how could this be? And then, so I started doing yoga. It's funny, you were talking about yoga before, not the Vikram yoga that you were doing. That's a little too intense. A lot of weights and stuff. And I don't need pills or insulin at this point because I got it down naturally.
Do you like the Twilight Zone? Frank has a whole podcast about it.
Yeah, we are on the Zoning Out podcast. It's on the Bloody Disgusting Network, Bloody FM, if you want to check that out. We essentially do episode recaps of the original Twilight Zone series. We just break down each episode. We're a bunch of over-analytical dorks, so it's just us just breaking down the minutia of each episode. And then it veers off into weirdness. Like last episode, the last like 10 minutes of us just doing Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes at each other. Yeah, so like that's the plan though. We're gonna go through every episode, potentially the 80s series that the reboot series they did in the 80s that Bruce Willis started on, if you remember that episode. We're definitely gonna do the movie and just anything Rod Serling related. We're just big fans of the show, so. Yeah, Twilight Zone we're all just casual fans. We're not experts or anything. And that's the show. It's just like, we're all casual fans. Like, how many episodes have we seen? But it turns out everybody's just seen the same few episodes. So like the Burgess Meredith, he broke his glasses episode.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's a cookbook. It's a cookbook. Like, those are the episodes that they always show on New Year's.
Or Sebastian Cabot's The Devil.
Nightmare at 40,000 feet. Yeah. Right. Those are the same ones that everybody always talks about. And it's like, there's like hundreds of episodes. So has anybody done like a real deep dive of this show? So let's like really like see the episodes that we've never seen, and we're discovering like, wow, this is like, why does this episode not get talked about? A few duds.
There definitely are so many, right?
Yeah, there's a few duds in there. I mean, after any show does, but it's incredible the amount of quality that show pumped out, and it still work. A lot of the shows still work today.
Rod Serling was brilliant. It's so. He was a one-of-a-kind writer, for sure, right? I mean,
the guy was a machine. The guy wrote. He basically worked himself into an early grave. Like, we were finding all autobiographical stuff with him.
But he smoked like an animal, though.
Well, he was doing 4 or 5 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm sure that didn't help matters either.
Well, but Frank, can you tell me about Welcome to the Future, the film we did? That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, so a few years back, I had this wild harebrained idea to, let's see if we could shoot an entire feature at a public event like New York Comic Con. So I wrote a script and cast people I knew and cast some fresh faces that I did just traditional casting. I wrote a role right for Mike. I said, like, that was like one of my first things. Like, okay, anytime I do anything, Mike, I go, where does Mike fit into all this? I swear to God, but for real, I was telling Mike Morse earlier, I was like, it's my mission to make you a superstar. I want to see you. I want to be driving down LA one day and then see your face on a billboard. That's my mission, and it will happen.
Probably be about 95 by that time.
But so yeah, we tried. We essentially went to New York Comic Con as it was running, and the year we went, it had an attendance of 180,000 people. It was the largest attendant indoor event in American history up to that point, and it somehow came out as a coherent film. I don't know how, because I don't remember anything from that 4 days. I was just stressed, and I acted in it too, because the person I had as the lead dropped out at the last minute. So I was like, I'm not an actor, and I had to play the lead.
But you did a great job, though.
Thank you so much. People seem to. I don't think I botched the movie. I think I was adequate. I also tailored it to myself. I was around, I was 260 at that point. So I just said, just write a lot of fat jokes at my expense to make it work. We just kind of dropped it on YouTube just for fun. It was kind of a loss leader. It was just an experiment to see if we could do it. Mm-hmm. And there's no way to ever distribute it because I break so many intellectual property laws. I think it is like every time I did try to I did like a half-hearted attempt to at distributors, and they just asked a bunch of legal questions that it was just like, yeah, I don't know what you did was technically legal, so pass. I'm like, okay, figured. I just wanted to check. So I just said, yeah, fuck it, just throw it on YouTube. If people want to see it, check it out. Yeah, it's very funny. It's a very sweet movie. And Mike's amazing in it.
Frank casted me as the comic book nerd. It was funny.
Yeah, Rod. Oh, I've decided. So we're getting into producing audio dramas. We've just produced 2 of them, Scars and Seclusion. They're not out yet, but look out for them. Bloody Disgusting. Hopefully on Bloody Disgusting. And I'm writing an audio drama too. Dude, I'm never going back to film. First of all, because, dude, the audio drama world, if you come from a film background, like producing audio dramas, like old time radio, it's like a joke.
Oh, that's what I was gonna.
I'm an Anglophile a little bit too. So when I was a kid, again, didn't go out much. I read like all the Sherlock Holmes short stories and novels when I was a kid. And yeah, those are great. The Jeremy Brett ones are the most authentic. They're very close to how they played in the books and short stories.
Frank, I would ask you one more question, and I'm going to pick your brain about this. Who are your 3 favorite directors and why?
Ooh, this is a tough one. Loaded. Well, we just did a podcast where we talked about one of our favorite directors. Joe Dante is definitely one of my favorite directors of all time. The guy who directed Gremlins, Inner Space. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I'm a film nerd, so I'm obliged to say Orson Welles. You just have to say that. Oh, yeah. And who else? Gee whiz. God, this is a tough one. I'll pick a safe one. I guess Tarantino. That's a safe one.
Wow, me too.
Yeah. You know what I just recently watched? I've been watching years. The Maltese Falcon. You ever see that one? Oh, it's great. Mike Curtiz, who also directed that. He directed that in Casablanca. It's fantastic.
So many of them. It's like incredible because.
What's your favorite Hitchcock? We were just talking about this on our show. Rear Window is all like we all realized that Rear Window is our favorite Hitchcock movie. Yeah, his 50s output for me is my favorite stuff. It's that. You also have what's the one with Vertigo.
The Birds. Matteo just texted.
North by Northwest. That's the one I was struggling for.
Frank, I just want to thank you because.
Thank you so much,
awesome.
Mike.
I'm so glad we got to phone you.
Oh, I'll do this. I'll do anything you ever ask me, Mike. I love you very much, buddy.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, Frank.
I'm new to podcast myself. Like I've only been doing it a few months. You got it. There's no nice way to say it. You're gonna eat
Frank,
shit.
I said earlier, you know what
You're
happened?
gonna beat yourself up. You're gonna notice things about like verbal tics that you have that you never knew before that you have. I didn't realize how much I go between sentences and trying to connect basic thoughts. It's the worst feeling on the planet when you but eventually you'll filter them out. It's like anything else. You just got to keep doing it. My thing is this is what makes me that helps me focus and helps me center and helps me get my thoughts out clearly is just have a lot of notes in front of you. That's what I usually do. Just have when you're ever in doubt, just stare at piece of paper or your iPad, whatever you do, and it'll make it a lot easier, because I was trying to wing it for the first few episodes, and it was just me shame spiraling for like an hour and a half going,
My friend Barrett Leddy. Barrett.
You got it, Mike. Hi, how you doing?
How you doing? Okay.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Do you guys live close? But I never been to Boston only once, like I was saying. Do you guys? Boston's a big place. I mean, Massachusetts is, right?
Natick, Massachusetts. That's where I was born. Home of Doug Flutie. Yeah, you know, moved to New York about 6 years ago. But yeah, always love going back home to Massachusetts. It's nicer there. It's more, I don't know, people are nicer, I think. I don't know.
The thing is, right, the worst train ride I was, there's something called the quiet car.
Were you yelling?
No, you're not allowed to be quiet. You have to be quiet. Somebody shushed me. Some guy was like, shh. So you know what I said? I'm not in the friggin' library. He goes, I will call the conductor. This is a quiet car. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
what were you doing? Were you being loud?
No, I was talking to somebody, and he goes, and he just like reprimanded me. I'm like, you know, from third grade. It's weird, right?
It's one section of a train, and it's the quiet car, and people go there for. I think douchey people love the quiet car because they don't have to talk to anyone. I feel like people on an Amtrak are generally like respectful. So if you need even more quiet, I don't know. I don't trust you, Mike. No. You should have punched the guy.
No, you know what? It wasn't worth it because I would have just said F off. If I was really right. But, Barrett does a lot of voiceovers and stuff, and I asked him to do a couple of voices, like an announcer voice.
Like anything particular.
Can you do like the movie voices guy, like that old fashioned, like welcome to movie phone?
Well, movie phone, a little before my time. Movie phone. Let me.
Could you do like a real like announcery voice like they did years ago? Like
yeah, like. Well, how about that? How about a little promo for you? It's the Mike Bocchetti Show. I don't know. You know, depends on what you want. I'll give you. I mean, I can give you a couple.
Can you do a cartoon? I truly love cartoons. What do you call it? Matteo said the Japanese cat. I don't know.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh is an anime show that I do. Also, like Pokemon, it's Japanese anime. But Yu-Gi-Oh has that like growing up in the 90s, I watched it a lot, and it's got that stereotypical kind of anime vibe to it. That's like, it's time to duel. Whoa. You know, yeah. It's very I summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's all very dramatic, and yeah, I still work on it to this day. Here's a voice you might remember. I can't believe it. I just don't believe it. Oh my God, we're never gonna get a hold of that stupid lamp.
But Barrett, I was gonna ask you also, if you do your stand-up as well, right?
Yeah.
And an actor as well. Out of each thing you do, right? Stand-up, acting, and voiceover. If you were to be super successful at any one of them, which would it be?
I think I'm going to pick voiceover. It's great. You just, I'm wearing a t-shirt. You don't have to like really look nice. You just wake up in the morning and you all of a sudden they want you to play a parrot that day, or they want you to play a doctor or something, or you're reading a book. It's different. It's you know, I like the schedule. It's flexible. Comedian, doing stand-up is fun. It's a lot of late nights.
I know.
Yeah. I think I honestly prefer doing voiceover, what I'm doing now. I remember bombing really badly at a theater called The Pit that they used to have in Manhattan.
Oh God, two of them, yeah. One was on West 29th and the other was on East 23rd, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I remember I was opening for my friend's sketch team, and I had a whole thing written out. But when I got to the theater, for some reason, I got this spark of inspiration. And I thought it would be really funny if I went behind the stage, gathered up a whole bunch of janitorial supplies, like a mop and a broom, and I put a bucket on my head, and I went out on stage, and when they announced, oh, here's your opener, I came out on stage sweeping and mopping and brushing things down, and I was going, hey, don't mind me, folks, I'm just the janitor.
I love that.
Just the janitor. All right, but the whole crowd was just full of these dude bros from Rutgers.
Oh no!
And they all just stared at me.
Yeah, but that's just fun in comedy because it's risk taking.
It makes me laugh thinking about it. I'm the janitor. But yeah.
Oh, I got heckled. That's funny because I can tell you guys, our guest later on coming on is Jim Serpico. He worked at Comedy Central for years. He had a showcase. Jen, it was a TV show years ago called Shorties Watching Shorties on Comedy Central. Mm-hmm. They were looking for characters like me on there, right? So I get there, and some idiot drunk heckled the life out of me during a TV audition. That's the worst, right? So you know what I did, guys? I fucking let him have it and laced into him like Andrew Dice Clay did, right? Which is horrible for an audition, then there's people, right? But Jim was laughing his ass off, who was the executive that produced the show, right? He gave me like a thumbs up after that.
What'd you say to him?
I go, I don't know what fucking rat hole you crawled out of. Your dad came from the same fucking shitty ass fucking rat hole, something like that. I'm like, oh, I lost it that day. It was horrible. Oh, I was going to ask you, Barrett, right? Okay, if someone new starting voiceovers, right? How important is training to them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to have some acting background. You got to make sure you can enunciate. You have to think on the fly. Having improv background is great. And also the ability to shift different genres, because in order to earn a living, you're going to have to do commercials. You're going to have to do cartoons, audiobooks. I feel like it's good to have skills in each of those genres, and they're also different. So diversifying your skills, I got to tell you, Mike, I've been a huge admirer for a long time. I think you are hilarious, very unique, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Barrett, because I have fun. And let me bring on next. I'm sorry, Barrett. It's okay because I don't know how long. I don't want to overrun this, but it's just okay if I stop you now. Is that all right? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, whatever you gotta do.
But Barrett, where can we find you?
You find me at Barrett Leddy, BarrettLeddy, across all platforms, barrettleddy.com. Hey, go check it out.
Thank you, Barrett.
Thank you. And next time I'm on, Mike, I want you to tell the story of Vinny Santarpio, or whatever that guy's name was, from the grocery store.
I definitely will.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Great seeing you. Our next guest, I know for at least 10 years now, Dave Hill is a musician. He's a writer. He's a comedian and an actor, right? And he's from Ohio originally, but he's just like super chill. He's such a good friend. You're gonna love him. The great Dave Hill.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, Dave. Hi. I'm sorry to bother you, but
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? I was parked and now I had to move.
Oh no.
So I'm just driving momentarily. That's why I'm not looking. We're in New Jersey. Lucy had to have surgery, so we're.
Oh no, that's his dog, Dave.
Yeah.
His dog had surgery. I love his dog.
So
where's she now?
She's in the hospital. We're going there now.
I'm so sorry.
But I'll be stopped from rolling in a moment here. But thank you for having me. I'm sorry.
No, we wanted to have you on.
I'm going to pull over now.
Okay, take your time.
No, we can. Oh shoot. Okay.
Dave, I was going to ask you writing-wise, right?
Yeah.
Dave, how many books have you wrote, and which are your favorite ones? And tell us a little about each one, if you can.
I'm almost done with my 4th book, and it'll be out next fall, 2023. And my first book is called Tasteful Nudes. It was a collection of essays. Second book is Dave Hill Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And that's another collection of essays. And then I wrote a book called Parking the Moose, which is about Canada.
Oh, nice.
and I went all over Canada. And then this new book is about hockey, but I don't have a title with. I was actually just trying to figure out the title today. I think I know what the title is, but I don't want to say in case I'm wrong.
Oh, no, because
I grew up playing. I played until my sophomore year of college, and then I stopped. I quit. I was on the team at college, and I quit like 2 games into the season because I realized I would rather be doing stuff with my friends. So I quit. And then I've played like sporadically over the years, but not that often. But yeah, it's really the only sport I like. I don't really have any interest in football, basketball. I like baseball a little bit, but I kind of don't care at all about any others. It's weirdly the only sport I have any passion for.
What's the book about as far as hockey goes?
Look, I'm sorry, we're just doing one person. I'm so sorry.
No, I just was asking what's the book about as far as hockey. What
I'll answer that. It's about it's a bit like a memoir travelogue sort of thing. Like I just got back from Finland. I went and watched games over there and did some shows over there. And I went to Kenya and I played with one hockey team in all of Kenya. They kind of practice against each other, but I flew there and played with them. And then it's just kind of about, hockey not being like nearly as popular as the other sports in America, and kind of wanting it to be, even, because it's way more popular in other countries. So it's kind of a mixture of a lot of different stuff about hockey, but it's mostly like, just been traveling around the world the last couple of years, well, last year mostly.
I'm a big hockey fan, so that's why I was asking you.
Oh, nice. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'm just kind of obsessed with it. And, but I'm not really that into like stats and stuff. So like, it's kind of a little bit about that. And I sometimes question whether I just like the idea of it or just like being around it. Cause I like I like the sound of it. I love the game, but like, I don't even care who wins or loses. I'm just into it. I'll just go to see any team. If they're over like 15 years old, I'm totally into it. Like,
Dave, I want to ask you, Dave, I can talk a little bit about this. Me and Dave have been working on a project together for years, right?
Yeah.
Writing this for years. That's incredible. And you're going to laugh when you hear what it is, right? You're going to love it as well. It's called History
Mike, you can't give away the idea. Someone's going to steal it.
Oh, no, sorry. But
you can't give away the idea on your show.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I just want to enjoy this because, well, I'll put it this way. It's fun, and it was something that you loved, that you would go, whoa. I'm sorry. So,
that's
Dave,
all you need to know.
Thanks for telling me.
All your listeners to run off with our red hot intellectual property.
We've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, the pandemic has kind of set us back, but we're back.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your favorite gig and why?
I think probably my favorite, maybe I did a show at Sing Sing Prison. I've done a couple shows there, and maybe the first time I went there was my favorite, just because it was just a new experience, and it was awesome, and I was really nervous about it, and it ended up being a great experience, and I think it was I wouldn't want to do it every night, but it was pretty awesome.
But he did something that was really unique and very warm, heartwarming, cool. That's why I loved it.
I think because the original idea was I just kind of said it, just as a joke to some friends, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and it's just kind of joking around, and then they were laughing about it, saying how badly it would go, and so I was like, I'm gonna follow through on this and do it. So I did it, And on the lead up to it, I was really nervous about it, you know, and almost canceled because I was just like, oh my gosh. But then I stayed the course because it's all, they checked in, they're like, oh, we're just making sure you're still coming. And I was like, yeah, what are these guys like? And then they're like, well, they're all maximum security violent felons. But it was an amazing experience. And there's like 300 guys, and it was like really a powerful experience. Made me sort of, realize, hey, I don't know, made me really think just about prison in general. You realize you meet a lot of these guys and you realize like the circumstances that, you wind up in prison, it can just be 5 crazy minutes of your life, that's all the difference between someone in there and then you or I. So yeah, because you think like, you could be drunk, there's a gun someone's got a gun, something stupid happens, and that's the difference between me sitting in my rental car right now talking to you guys or me being in prison.
That was such a heartwarming story. I knew you were a good guy, Dave, because most people would say, like I said earlier, I opened for Metallica, Beb, go on and on. We're in a very like self-serving me business, and it's good to hear that you did something phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah, it was fun. It kind of started like I was on my radio show. I used to have a radio show on WFMU, and I was asking listeners, for name suggestions because we had just gotten Lucy, and someone was like, "Oh, call her Danzig," because I just, kind of after the band Danzig or after Glenn Danzig. And then, so I was talking about that. And then my friend Walter said, oh, that's too on the nose. Why don't you call her Lucifuge, which is the second Danzig record for all you Danzig fans would of course know. And so Lucifuge, and then we just shortened it to Lucy. So it's Luci, sort of a weird, maybe just made up spelling.
You're one of the chillest people I know, Dave. I wish I was as chilled as you are. Believe me. Dave, do you have anything coming up we can talk about? I mean, projects that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, we can talk about. I just did a short film starring me and Adam Pally, if you know him, great comedic actor from film and television, and a buddy of mine. And it's called Spark Wheel, and it stars the two of us and Maddie Hidalgo. So I think that'll be at festivals soon. What else? The book, my hockey book that I don't know the title of yet, will be out next year.
Oh, nice.
Penguin Random House. And then I'm doing, some shows. I'm doing, if you go to my website, davehillonline.com, I'm always doing shows around the country and the world, so you always just get it done, and then if someone's paying me to do something, then I just like, well, I got to do that, and then work on the other stuff later. I travel to do shows, and for the hockey book, I went, I don't know when did I go went to Finland.
Was it cold in Canada? I think it was cold when we went to Canada, right?
I went to Canada too. Yeah. It was cold.
I was like, whoa, he's going up there in the winter, because I'm like, holy crap. Dave, where can we find you? Because anybody know what time it is? That's a bad question.
Oh, yeah. I should let you go. I'm on Instagram at Mr. Dave Hill, at Mr. Dave Hill. I'm that on Instagram and TikTok. And then I have a website at davehillonline.com. And that's about it.
Thank you, Dave. You were the best. It was so much fun because
thank you, Mike.
I will talk to you, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Love you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to bring on our first guest. I know him. He's going to explain how we met, actually. He's a writer. He's a creator. He's been writing television. He's an actor. He's a funny guy and a good guy. He's from the Bronx, New York. Great John Borras.
Hey,
John.
So yeah, I wanted to tell the story about how I met Mike. And this was 20 years ago. I wrote my first play. It was a full-length play, and I played the lead in it. So there was a lot going on for me, to make sure that this thing was going to work.
Sorry. Please explain this play. Is like, it's mind blowing. It's like old fashioned, but it's a new world. It's incredible. That's what I loved about it.
Well, I guess I could tell you the inspiration for it was when I lived in Yonkers, the woman across the street, when I moved in, she'd recently become a widow. And when I met her, she was crying. And so I introduced myself, and I realized that she was an older woman and she was by herself. So I offered to help her out, mow the lawn, go shopping for her. And really the most important thing was to spend time with her. So it became a thing where I'd go over every Wednesday night, we'd watch TV, and we would just chat. And she had started telling me about some dreams she was having about her husband. Wow. And it really, really was affected me. And so I had no idea I was ever going to write a play about it, but eventually it just stayed with me and stayed with me. So I wrote this play about the relationship between a guy who's younger guy is trying to find his way in the world, meeting his neighbor who is older, much older, where like his friends would never understand. So he kind of kept it a secret. He didn't want to like his friends to make fun of him at the bar or whatever. And the wisdom and the knowledge that he gained from this woman. And it's a kind of like Mike said, it's kind of an old fashioned feel to it. And it was really special to me. I made a composite of a woman from my neighborhood growing up in the Bronx who was really not nice to us. She was, we called her the cat lady of Marshall Parkway. She hated kids. So I took this woman who I just met in Yonkers, and I put her history with the woman who hated children, who hated kids. And I made this one character, and kind of breaking through the barriers of the childhood feelings having for her, and also now the new relationship that they're establishing. And so I was very proud of it. I had written it longhand, and I kept a notebook for 2 years.
John, I wanted to ask you quick, and I think I'm right about this. Did it have like a 1940s setting she was from?
Well, her being an older woman, when you walked into her apartment, like we had the part of the stage, her apartment, it had the old furniture, it had the old music playing in the background. So it did feel like a time capsule, like nothing changed in her apartment. So you walked into an older world. And I'm really fascinated by, by that, the nostalgia of black and white movies and the stories that, my parents and grandparents would tell. So I wanted to create a little bit of that environment once you walked into that apartment. Well, American standards, just wonderful time, I guess, to be alive. And so I could only write about it and imagine what it would be like.
It would be fantastic.
I would love to go back. But
let's go back to 1946, just where the war was over with.
But getting back to how I met Mike, now this was really interesting because, like I said, I had written the play, and I was acting in the lead, and so there was a lot of responsibility. So the director brings on Mike as a stage manager type, but he brought you on kind of late. Am I right? Kind of like just before opening?
No, it's really hard. I only did it once, and it's so hard because taking furniture down and like making sure that everything comes out at the right minute.
A lot of responsibility.
I almost like screw the sheet up with them. It's like there's supposed to be a deck of cards, and they're looking for them. I forgot to put them out. Things like that.
Little things, a lot of big things, and a lot of little details that you got to be on top of.
John's looking around one day, generally doing this. I remember you looking around with this. Oh my God, where are the cards? Your face looked like that, right? And I'm like, he's looking for the cards, Pete. That was the other guy, Joe. Oh no, they're in my pocket right now. I can't run. I can't like run after them.
Way to give an actor a heart attack. But the funny thing was that with everything going on, that we really never got a chance to interact much, Mike, because I was worried about just making sure the play was going to be successful and making sure that everybody got their line, just a lot of stuff going on, and it being my first production. So what happens is 10 years later, I'm at a benefit. It was a Christmas, like a Toys for Tot benefit.
It was so nice. It was like Toys for Tots.
And it was like a bunch of actors, like an actors group. So I was just there as a member and just, contributing toys. And so I was an audience member basically. And they were, these actors were putting on shows, and what we found out from the host was that the original comedian had canceled last minute. And so they had a fill-in who turned out to be Mike Bocchetti.
Yeah, it was wild.
Mike Bocchetti killed that night. I'm not kidding. Now, the funny thing is, after the show is over, and I'm waiting around, like, because I want to talk to Mike. But here's the funny thing is, I didn't remember Mike from stage managing my play 10 years ago, because I really never got to interact with him. I was so busy and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike comes out there, mind you, this is 10 years later. I'm waiting as a fan. I'm like fanboying, like I think Mike is hysterical. So I'm waiting to shake his hand and tell him. He walks out, sees me, he goes, "Hey, John, nice to see you." He shakes my hand. And I'm like, what? I am like, what? Who? How does he know me? So I don't want to let on, like I'm totally confused. And Mike starts talking about the play from 10 years ago, as if it just happened yesterday. Finally, I figured out, oh my God, Mike, the stage manager. It blew my mind how his memory was so sharp. Like if we had coffee the day before, and Mike, I'll never forget it. I've told that story 100 times because I think it's fascinating. Now, if I could just say the one joke that to me is maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard any comedian say. It was just, Mike has this rapid fire style of jokes. He walks back and forth around the stage. And this one joke, can I say it, Mike? The joke that
sure. Make sure it's not dirty though.
No, it's not dirty. It's not dirty. So Mike says, when I was 10 years old, my father said, "Son, I want to tell you the facts of life. You will never get laid." I thought that was the funniest thing that I had ever heard in my entire life. And I've told that joke, and of course I give Mike credit, but I've told it at least 100 times. I'm not kidding, Mike. I've never forgot that. I thought it was the funniest thing.
Thank you, John.
You killed that.
I wanted to pick your brain. John just co-wrote a series.
Yeah, co-wrote a series. Before the pandemic came, I was auditioning a lot, like 3-4 times a week, and then the pandemic came. And I'll get to the story on my when I worked on my acting job just before the pandemic got canceled, and it was the Many Saints of Newark. But thankfully, it picked up after the pandemic. But I was thinking, I mean, they may write me out of it, they may cut the scenes, whatever, because it was like a year and a half, 2-year gap. So I wanted to create my own work, at least try. So I didn't know how much time I'd have, but I wanted to write something, create like I did with my play. I wanted to continue to write. And so I started writing this series. And I did a movie in 2010 called Paradise East. And I became good friends with the writer and the director named Nick Taylor. And so I love the characters that he created in that movie. And then he created a web series called The Chip and Ernie Show based on the 3 main characters of that film. And he brought in all these wonderful characters to this web series. And so I wanted to do something where I could combine some of the characters that he wrote in the web series and some of the stuff that I remember from Paradise East and create this world and take it to the next level. So I wrote 3 episodes, and then I decided, let me call Nick. I said, "Nick, look, I've already started this. I need your help. It's your world. Let's collaborate." And so for 2 years, I would drive out to New Jersey every Saturday, no matter what, snow, rain, sleet, whatever. We'd go into his office and we would just write, and we would just write. And then during the week, we would compare notes. And so we wound up getting 11 episodes. A full season is written. And right now we're polishing off our pitch deck, but we are ready to go to get a literary agent because I really believe that this thing will knock some socks off. I think it's nothing else is close to it out there. And so I'm excited to try to get it to the next level.
I definitely want to hear some writing stuff. If you have any idea, anything you want to
writer to writer, techniques, whatever.
Yeah.
I really didn't know I just wanted to make sure that like when I felt creative, I would never forget it. And it's between Christmas and New Year's, because that's where actually the play takes place. It was actually during Christmas and New Year's. I had the notebook and I just wrote every day through New Year's. I don't know why I didn't do it on a computer. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I would never do that again, mind you. But the first time, I didn't see the end game. I didn't know where this is going. Like I said, I kept it in a magazine rack for 2 years because I knew writing is rewriting. And I knew that once I picked that up out of that magazine rack, I was going to be in for a lot of work to really work it and structure to make it a play with an arc and everything. So it took a while. The writing was one thing, but the rewriting. No, then I put it on computer because I knew there was going to be a ton of rewrites, and you know, you don't want to have to script, you know, because eventually it's going to have to be on a computer anyway. So I went to the computer for the rewrites, and I worked on it for quite a while until I felt like it was ready to be presentable. When I really decided I was going to do it, I would say probably 6 months to really structure it. Now, the thing is, I had never taken a writing class or anything, but I had been up to that point. I probably acted in about 80 plays up until that point.
Wow.
And so I knew how a play structured from experience. I knew character development. I kind of knew just from being involved with the theater world for all that time. So it was a little scary, especially because I'm exposing a lot of personal stuff. And I started to wonder, like, wow, do I really want people to know about this stuff? You know, I am revealing some personal things because you
don't feel like that.
You said earlier, you write what you know about. You know, there's a lot of personal stuff in there. 6 months, and then I brought it to a theater company that I was involved with a bunch of theater companies. And so I brought it to this one, and they right away, I got an answer. They read it, they loved it. And then so we began putting it on its feet.
See, that's the thing. Quality is what counts the most, because I think, especially now, the way the business is, writers, great ones and good ones are like gold.
Only problem
They
is
need so much
everybody's
content
writing
now, right?
Everybody's writing now, and that's the problem.
They
now
need
there's a lot more
content now.
competition.
All
Yeah.
the things we have now.
But there's a
Netflix,
lot of
all these things.
competition. And what I'm finding is getting people to read something now is not so easy anymore, because they're getting inundated by so many new writers that are, and so they get, they just close the door a lot of times because, I don't have time to read.
They want a sizzle reel now too, like 5 minutes of it or whatever.
Yes, that's on the agenda. That's one of the things we're looking to do, just to do it as a, we have a 30-second pitch, verbal pitch, but we're going to kind of get a sizzle reel. We're going to put together a bunch of quick scenes and film it as a short film. That's going to happen. Not sure exactly when, but it's going to be 2023 is going to be the year where we really push this.
That's incredible for a theater company like something right away, because people can be very fickle in this business. They're weird. They like look at something, and you don't hear back from them. That's the worst thing I heard, disrespect in this business. Like, there's no reason today, if you get in touch with somebody, for them not to get back to you. I mean, you know what I mean? I was always good, like, with cold calling agents on the phone. They always told you never call them. I did anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Some of them
That's gutsy, Mike.
Some of them never did.
That takes guts.
When I started this, I used to call, like, I took a risk one time, because this type of thing, the Ross reports, they had like all agencies, right? I found a number of, like, what's her name? Tom Cruise's wife. I forgot her name.
Nicole Kidman was one of his wives.
Yeah. No, but Nicole Kidman, John, I found who her agent was in LA, right? And I left a cold message to her agent. I didn't care, right?
Good for you.
His office got back to me. How crazy, not him. They go, oh, we got your message. We like what we heard. Please submit some materials to us in LA. I think I just did a film. I did like, hi, my name is Mike Bocchetti. I'm from New York. I kept it as brief as I could. Like, I just did a film and I'm working on with so-and-so. And the thing is, like, but I also had like some not so good luck with it. I'll give you guys a good example, right? There was an agency years ago called Endeavor, right? They were gigantic, John. They were like William Morse. They were tremendous. Like, they had all movie stars, right? I found out about an agent there that my friend was with, and I called the agent up. I introduced myself. His office got back to me in a few days, right? Oh, yeah, you know what? We heard of you, but I was a comic for years, right? We're going to call you back in a few days, right? I had an interview with him on the phone for like 40 minutes. How crazy is that?
That's a good sign.
Then they called me back again to interview me, right? Then they were supposed to come to see me as a comic at Caroline's, right? I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. But what happened was, now everything is always timing in life, right? This is about a couple of weeks before the writer's strike happened, right?
I remember that.
So they call me up and they say, the agent's assistant goes, Mike, we really like you. We wanted to work with you, but right now we have a writer's strike. We don't even know what we'll do with our own people. But you know what else happened too? She said, we made merge with another agency right now, right?
Yeah.
And you know what happened? They merged with William Morse. And it became like mega,
wow.
right? But the thing is, but that agent left the office and I was out.
That happens a lot. You know, my agent before the pandemic hit, I was auditioning for a lot of shows and I was getting pinned, called back, and I was booking.
Wow.
And then the pandemic came and he decided that, you know, now is the time for him to leave the business altogether.
Whoa.
And he spend more time with his family. So they replaced him. I'm still with the same agency, but it hasn't been the same as when that guy was my agent. He was in the New York office, and now, you know, I'm with a bi-coastal agent, but there's no New York presence. Ever since the pandemic, everything is Zoom. They haven't filled the office. So my agents are in LA, and it's a little bit of a
it's good to have them out there because that's where a lot of stuff is.
I know, but all the shows that I'm auditioning for are in New York. And I guess if something happens, you know, I would go out to LA without a doubt. But, you know, there's a lot of work in New York for us.
I know. But the thing is, I was asking John, is he using his computer or phone? I'm just curious.
Right now I'm using my computer, but for auditioning, you know, I have my backdrop back there. I have the lights set up in the other room. I'm not a big fan of self-tapes because there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is you don't get that personal contact with the people in the room.
I know.
I feel that's a very important thing is to.
Oh my God, to act. You need people in the room with you.
It helps, I feel. Now, what happens with the self-tape is now, like when I was auditioning, my agent would say, you know, you have to be in Manhattan, you know, tomorrow morning. And I'm like, sure, I just hop on a train and I'm there. Now with self-tapes, you don't have to be in New York. You don't have to be able to get to Manhattan. So they expand all the auditions now to people who say, you know what, I could be a local hire in New York, or I could stay with friends or family. So now they've opened up. So now you're competing against 5 times more people. And so it's harder now to get noticed because it becomes a conveyor belt. You see them, all right, next, you see them, next. There's nothing personal now. That extra is missing now. I mean, it's the game now. It's never going to go back, I feel. It's just too easy.
You know what? It's going to be weird for a while.
Let me just tell you quickly right now, I'm also writing and starring in a web series. We shot the first episode, and I just wrote the second episode, and we're going to plan on writing. Well, I don't know if the woman the actress I'm acting is, I think she's going to want to write as well, but so far I've been doing the writing. So it's going to be called The Married Life. We have the first episode already done, edited, and in festivals right now, or at least submitted to festivals. So I've been doing a lot of writing, but I've also been auditioning, not as much since the pandemic, unfortunately, but just before the pandemic had started, I booked the movie, the Sopranos prequel, Many Saints of Newark.
You were great. You played a priest. It was awesome.
Yeah. So as it was getting closer to the shoot date, the pandemic was shutting down everything. And so we're scheduled to shoot the week of St. Patrick's Day. I'll never forget it. And I just see everything closing and everything is closing. And then I get the call that Friday night, production is shut down. And I was really disappointed. I didn't think that they were going to keep me. I didn't think they were going to, shoot my scenes at all. And so I think it was like a year and a half later, 2 years later, productions picked up. My lines have all changed. The scene has changed drastically. It was supposed to be a huge scene with 200 extras because big Italian wedding. And now it was like in a backyard of a restaurant, and it was like 10 extras, maybe 15 extras. So, but I was still in it. They cut my lines, they changed my lines. I didn't care. I was in it. Now,
that's the important thing.
If I could just tell you this real quick story, the Many Saints of Newark was very secretive in many ways. Like even when I auditioned to it, it was like, it didn't even have the name Many Saints of Newark. It just said, Taylor Project. That's all it said, Taylor Project.
Wow.
So I auditioned for it, and I'm like, all right, whatever happens, happens. And then when I book it, I get the emails, and from my agent, they're calling it the Newark Project. So I still don't know what it is.
You know what it is? They keep it under confidentiality because you know what I mean. They want nobody to know what it's about because.
But I'm in it though. All I got to tell you is don't talk about it, and I won't. So let me tell you what happened. So they had started filming the year before the pandemic, they were like, the movie was almost done. So when I got on board, they were doing new scenes. So that's why I figured, oh, you know what? They may not even use us because pandemic shut everything out. So the actors were working together for a while. So I went on IMDb and I'm trying to find out. I know I have a scene partner and I'm trying to find out who is the actor I'm going to be working with. I couldn't tell because some of the main actors didn't have a character next to their name. So I get on set and I still don't know because the call sheet doesn't say the character and the actor's name. So I only know I'm acting with a character named Hollywood Dick and I have no idea who it is. So we're actually on set getting ready to do the rehearsals and there's an empty seat next to where I'm supposed to do my scene. I'm still waiting till the very last minute. Suddenly I hear somebody from the back yell, "Ray's here." And I'm like, Ray? I mean, I know Ray Liotta's in the movie, but is Ray Liotta going to be in the scene? Am I doing a scene with Ray Liotta? I did a scene with Ray Liotta and I found out just before we were going to shoot. It was crazy. It was surreal.
That would blow my mind because it's like, and just to see him, I would have a heart attack, I think.
It was so surreal. Goodfellas. I mean, one of my favorite movies, and our knees are touching. I mean,
no, me too. I get very like that too because like something that might come in, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a stroke here right now. You know what I mean?
The one thing is make sure I don't forget my lines because I don't want to screw up in front of Ray Liotta. And another guy who was in the scene, Joey Diaz, who right? He's a funny guy.
Joey Diaz is a comic. He has a podcast. He's been around forever, and he's really a funny guy. And he was awesome in the movie because I mean, I'm going to take a drip, some water. I'm going to mix it up, guys, instead of that Dunkin' Donuts.
I spoke to Joey just a little while ago on the phone, Mike, because I told him, because I knew I was doing the podcast. So I wanted to, say, hey, I'm doing Mike Bocchetti's, and he goes, oh, Mike, I know Mike since 1993. I love the guy. So he had nothing
really
to say about it. And Joey is a great guy. So the second surreal thing that happened on the set of Many Saints of Newark was they were filming some scenes in another part of the restaurant backyard area, and they were waiting to come back to ours. So I'm at a table with Joey Diaz and John Bernthal, just the three of us. You would know.
I'm not sure who he is either. I really don't know.
He's a big guy. Trust me, he's in everything. He's in Walking Dead.
I'm not sure who he is either.
He played Punisher in the TV series. He's in a lot of stuff. He's a really big actor, and I had seen him in him. So for 40 minutes, Joey Diaz, me, and John Bernthal are at a table, and Joey Diaz is telling the funniest stories in the world. But I can't get over the fact I'm sitting next to John Bernthal, and it was such a great experience. It was that whole experience of working on that movie was fantastic. Anyway, I know you asked about other stuff, but that was like probably my favorite experience of all time. I've done a lot of independent films, some web series. The first audition I got with my agent, I booked that show Pose. You know the TV show Pose? It was on FX. I played it.
I don't watch things. I have no idea what they are. So I really don't know.
I was in 2 episodes. I played a fire inspector, and
nice.
That was my second audition with my new agent, and so it was a really good start with the agency.
I was gonna break the chops a little bit, right? John is half Irish and half Spanish, right? Played a priest in the Many Saints of Newark, right? John, were you tempted to do an Irish brogue as a priest?
No. No, this was supposed to be it. This is why I really didn't think I was going to get this. The audition said he was Italian American, and so when I went into an audition, I remember, I borrowed the top from a priest that I know, and I was like number 25 on the list for that day. It was like late in the day, and there was 25 people before me, and then there was like 10 people behind me waiting to go in, and everybody looks like they're right out of the Sopranos, like Italian, really Italian looking. I'm like, so I went into that audition thinking I have no shot, so I just was able to relax, and I booked it. It was crazy. So
you never know.
They wanted a New York accent because they got me after I booked it, they got me in contact with a dialect coach to make because they wanted to make sure it sounded like New York, New Jersey. And I said, hey, that's where I'm from. I don't need a dialect coach. And the guy says, you're right. Just do it the way you're doing it now, and you'll be fine. I do have one, and I could put it on more. Like when I get excited, it really comes out. And if I need to put it on, it's like an old friend. It's in my back pocket. my friends saw the movie, they said, "Why you sound Italian in the movie?" All my friends said that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but I would have loved to. I want to play an Irish. I love the brogue so much because it's like it's so nice to hear it. You know what I mean? I love the Irish brogue. Right?
I actually did a short film again just before The Sopranos where I was a priest and I played an Irish priest with the brogue.
Well, yeah, but the brogues are different. Am I right or wrong? From one another, heck yeah.
If you're from Ireland, you'll know a Dublin accent from a Galway accent, from Northern accent.
Funny. My mom's church group, her rosary group, guys, has a couple of Irish people from Ireland. One guy, I don't know where he was from an island, but he was like a typewriter, like I'm like, whoa, right? Really quick speaking, right? Like the other guy was like the program, come on, Mike. You know what I mean? Like that, like you can hear it. But
let's hear it a little bit, Mike. Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it. How did he sound?
Come on, we're gonna fight. What the hell are you going on me tonight? You want to hear a funny story, right? I used to go to this bar in Manhattan that was called Alani's, I think it was, on like 65th Street. And I became friends with the people there. One of the bartenders had a really heavy dick Irish brogue, right? He goes, I got there like 9 o'clock one night. He goes, it's a little late for you coming in here because I used to come in like at 5 or 6 to eat, right? He'd be like, but you better be leaving soon. I go, why? He goes, this because it's midnight. We have a bloody pirate ship happening here every night. He goes, when people start getting really after midnight, it gets wild in there. John, what do you have coming up?
Well, I've been working. I gotta get the next episode of the web series shot and go forward with that. Got to get the TV series pitch deck polished. But I'm also auditioning. I just auditioned for the Blacklist. And I'm hoping that, hopefully I'll book that. But also, Mike, we're going to be working together.
Oh, yeah. It's hard. Do me a favor. Can you explain his show? It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not really sure if it's sci-fi, what it is.
It's not an easy one to explain.
It's called Crash. I call it like Crash. It's just like, I don't know. It's like drama, sci-fi, comedy. It's just a mixture. But I watched it, and a friend of ours cast us together in this thing.
It's on Tubi. It's on the network Tubi. They did the first season, and now they're filming the second. So Mike and I are going to be working on an episode together. Did you have COVID, Mike?
No, I had it actually for a while, a couple of months back in August.
I just had it earlier in November. The cough was the worst part of it, but thank God.
Not a cough? I felt like I was a Civil War soldier with whooping cough.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah, it was horrible.
Thank God it wasn't lethal like the first strain of it. We'd have been
Absolutely.
Dead. Are you a musician? I wish they could play instruments. I'm no musician at all.
No, I used to sing in a band back in the Bronx, but I didn't play any. Unfortunately, I never lived my dream of being a drummer. I always wanted to be a drummer, but I just never got around to it.
But
Yeah.
John, where can we find you?
Where can we find me?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean like Facebook to YouTube.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't go on Instagram that much. You could check out the movie Paradise East and the Chip and Ernie Show by going to chipanderney.com.
Oh, nice. Go to IMDb.
I will be putting out the web series soon. Once we get a couple of episodes, we'll probably go, have links for Vimeo, whatever. But right now we entered the first pilot into like 6 festivals, really short.
Nice.
I mean, it's really shorts, these are like 5-minute micro things. And, but they're fun and they're a challenge to write.
Well,
try to
that's
be
all it
funny in
takes,
a
though.
short amount of time.
Well, all it takes is 5 minutes for somebody powerful to see you, and that's it.
Absolutely. And this is comedy, which I never purposely went out to set out to write comedy. And so to try to do it in like 5 pages, it was quite a challenge, but I think it's very exciting and I love it. John,
all this is pace.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong? But John, thanks for coming on here. We got to get in touch with Kamal. Can't wait to work with you. It's going to be fun.
I'm sure we're going to hear from him very soon. And either one of us can reach out to him. I'm sure he'd be okay with that. But I will probably, when I see you next, it'll be soon, probably in December and on set. And that'll be great to see you in person again, Mike. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on here, John. It was so good to talk to you. Catch up.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be. Yeah, but I'll see you on Facebook, Mike. And
okay, thanks, John.
More. Take care, guys.
I'm really excited about our next guest. I know him for a bunch of years. He had worked for Comedy Central for years. He's a writer, a producer. He's also a talent agent, and he's just a really good guy because He also has a bread baking company now, which I wanted to pick his brain about a little bit because as we like bake products. The great Jim Serpico.
All right.
Hi, Jim.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Coming over a million times over because I really appreciate it. And she wants to know, could you have it delivered?
It is a virtual baker. It's a virtual bakery.
Okay,
you
so
can
it's a
have it
virtual.
delivered if you're in like within 25 miles of Plainview, Long Island. If you told me last week, I could have brought it up. I was at the Wilbur Theater on Saturday. One of my clients was performing at the Wilbur. He's from Boston originally, and it was kind of a big night for him to be performing at that kind of venue for the hometown crowd. So yeah, it was really cool.
Jim, I was telling people how I met you originally. You had casted me for an audition for Shorty's Watching Shorties at Caroline years ago, right? Oh, wow. And what happened was I did one of the worst things you could do in front of industry people, and you were very cool about it. Some idiot heckled me after Brian just making an announcement. So I want to say what I said earlier. He heckled me, and I go, "What fucking shit rock do your fucking father come out of?" Same one as you did. I'm like, oh no. But I had seen you on TV, so I know what you look like, right? And I thought, oh no, you can listen to me. You just went, yeah, you're so cool about it. I was like, yes.
That's so funny. Yeah. What do you mean? You saw me somewhere?
I had watched you on Comedy Central when you produced stuff.
Right.
That's how I got to meet you at work because, like, I was gonna say, what do you call it? Have you ever been an actor or a comedian yourself, or more industry?
No, I've never been an actor. It's certainly never been a comedian, but I've been around comedy most of my professional life. So I've been around a lot of comedians, spent a lot of time with comedians and in comedy clubs, and then producing comedy things like albums and specials. And ultimately, when I started writing for television, was all comedy. I just didn't ever have, I don't know. Some people know early on that that's what they want to do. And that was the furthest thing from my mind, because I didn't even know anything about the comedy business. It kind of just evolved, from what I thought my path was going to be, which I thought it was going to be some kind of music industry person, because I was a musician.
Nice.
Growing up. Yeah. And I was the son of a musician, and I studied music in college, and I had the show business bug that way.
That's really cool. I love music, Jim, and I'm like horrific singing, and my notes are, I'm not good at any kind of instruments. I don't think I am. It's really sad. When I was 10 years old, I took a drum class, right? Boom, 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 like the 1, 2, 3. But I was since childhood, Jim, I am a spastic when it comes to timing. It's like, drummer goes like boom, 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 boom. I was like, boom. And I tried my best, Jim, and teach to my mom, I'm wasting your money and his time. He has no talent at all. I heard that at 10 years old, Jim. It was horrible.
That's kind of tough to hear at 10, I would think.
But you know what I said to myself, Jim? It bothered me so much I never wanted to play an instrument again the rest of my life. But you know what I thought recently, in the past 10 years? How good of a musician was he?
Yeah.
And if he was John Bonham, I don't think he'd be teaching. Oh, Jim, I was going to ask you, right? Writing-wise, one of my favorite shows that you were involved with, right, was Rescue Me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that show so much because I'm a huge Dennis Leary fan to begin with. I love him as an actor. And one of my favorite episodes, I don't know if you wrote this one, but my favorite episodes on that show were when he talked to his ghosts, his friends that were 9/11. I mean, that was like really, really, you know what I mean, wonderful and intense. And there was an episode where he was rescuing a little girl on her couch. I forgot what season it was, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like talking to her, and you could see how sad Dennis was, and you know what I mean? And like he offered her a candy bar, and then she had died already. And I'm like, holy crap. It brought tears. I'm not afraid to say it brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, I love that show so much. You guys did a freaking fantastic job. I watched it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't write on that show. I did executive produce the show. Dennis did a lot of the writing, and him and, of course, Peter Tolan, but a lot of it came from Dennis. A lot of those ideas and stories.
You were part of something phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, thank
TV
you.
got so much
It was-
better
it
over
was-
the years after that. I mean, like, I remember, you know, as a kid, I liked TV, but one of my favorite shows is Breaking Bad.
Me too.
I love that.
It's one of my
how well
favorites.
done it was because, I mean, like Walter White, I mean, you know, Bryan Cranston was Seinfeld's dentist. You know, I mean, he played Malcolm in the Middle's dad, and they go from that to like a Tony
Yeah.
Soprano type almost.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, he had it all, right? He's got the comedic chops. He did a lot of comedy stuff.
So good. I heard he's a nice guy. I heard he is. I really don't know.
He is. He helped us do a pilot once. We did a claymation comedy thing, and he provided the voice on it before he was Walter White, and he was very cool. You know,
Nice.
just
So
amazing.
good to hear that. Because Jim, who was your favorite actor? Do you have a favorite? I got a couple of them. I just lost my thought, Jim. I just lost my train of thought right now. Whose name was Jim?
I mean, my favorite actor from watching things on television and movies, I'm a sucker for 70s movies, you know, like Sidney Lumet films. I love that tone. I love the grit of those kind of things. So I loved, like, one of my favorite movies is Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino. So I love the early Al Pacino stuff.
He's
it's a little
incredible.
Yeah. You know, especially that early stuff.
I love him because when you see him in The Godfather, right, as Michael Corleone, playing gangster roles, people can go way over the top. You know what I mean? Sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But when he threatened Carlo, was going to kill the Turk, Jim, you could see how, like, his body language didn't like him. You know what I mean? He didn't have to say a word. We could tell how much hostility he had towards him without saying a word to him. And then when he threatened Carlo, he didn't go over the top. He was so menacing just by his tone of voice.
Yes, and I love that. I do have a pet peeve. I can't stand over the top gangsters. There was actually a Bryan Cranston series that was pretty good recently on Showtime where he played a judge. I forget the name of it, but it had to do the antagonist was a mobster, and I found that to be very over the top the way they were doing it.
You know who's a great mobster on TV? I like 80s TV and 70s. Ray Sharkey. I like him more than the TV show Wise Guy.
I've seen some of the, I've seen the Hitchcock stuff. You know, as I got into the business, like I said, I didn't study it early on, so I had to try to play catch up sometimes when people would be talking about Kurosawa. I would be like, who's Kurosawa? And, you know, like go back and look at that and films like that. So I did some of that, but I have not watched a lot of the older ones. It's amazing now, like when I go pitch to executives now, they haven't seen anything. They haven't seen the 70s movies, the 80s movies. I'm sure they haven't seen the 40s movies.
Well, it's horrible.
It's really different. It's a different world out there.
Oh, Paul Giamatti, that's my favorite actor, one of my favorites. This is a great story she just made me bring up, Jim.
Yeah.
Henry Winkler.
Oh, yeah. Great actor.
He is. What happened was, I've been a fan of his since childhood, like a lot of people have, right? And I told him in Bennington one day, he helped save my childhood because I was this fat kid that was bullied, you know what I mean, right? And I looked up to the Fonz. So you know what Ron did? He had me and Henry come on the same show on Bennington, right? It was via Zoom. And this is what I said to him. I said, this exact words, Jim. I go, I've been wanting to tell you something in the past 46 years, right? I called him Mr. Winkler. He goes, no, call me Henry, right? So I'm like, I go, I was a fat kid that was bullied in childhood, you know, and I looked up to the Fonz as a hero, and it made me stand up to people later in life. I wish kids had someone to look up like that now. And he just like, you can tell how real he is. He was taken back by it, you know what I mean, right? And it's like, he told me, he goes, I got up at 5 a.m. in LA to hear this in the morning. He goes, it's one of the best. He was so really nice to me. Jim, he tweeted at me Happy New Year last year. It's like, whoa, it's like, it's amazing how he is.
He seems
so
like
cool.
a genuine, grateful guy. I know he follows a lot of comedy. Yeah, he's pretty great. He's pretty great. I haven't met him. I came close to meeting him because we I had a mutual friend who was his agent. And when I used to go to LA a lot and go out with a friend of mine who worked for a studio, I'm not going to use his name or the studio name, but we would go out for lunch and like fancy dinners. And they have an expense account. And he would have to write down the guests at the dinner. And he would always put, when we went out together, that Henry Winkler was there. Because he was like, when I turn this in, who's going to question the bill when it's Henry Winkler and the Fonz? That was like an inside joke. And we did this for years.
Oh, of course.
We got the message to Henry Winkler, and I was going to surprise my friend by having Henry show up to the lunch for real one time, but it never happened. But he's the kind of guy that would do it.
It's like, Jim, I was going to ask you, and I think about the business. Before we go any more business with this, I'm dying to find out about your bakery, and because it's like, Jim, what made you start it? And like, I like food, as you can tell, especially bakers you had. Like, I'm like, stuffed bread. He's going to give me a stroke.
Yeah. You know, so what happened was I was always into making pasta and bread as a hobby. And I would do it with my kids, my wife and kids on the weekends. And then, you know, when COVID happened, right before COVID, I was going into Manhattan every day from where I live in Long Island. You know, it's about hour, 20 minutes each way by the time you get on the railroad and the subway and do your thing. And COVID crushed us all, right? Especially in the entertainment business. And everything came to a screeching halt, and my commute stopped. There wasn't much that I could do for my clients because there was no live work. So we were doing some of these, you know, virtual type of shows or whatever. But I had a lot of time on my hands, and my kids who were out of state going to school were home too because school was shut down or whatever. And we always joked about the name Side Hustle Bread. That's what we would call it inside the home. And we started an Instagram account with the first bread that we made, which was prosciutto bread. It's
you can tell what kind of bread it is. You'll love it. It's so good.
It's an Italian semolina bread with white flour, durum flour, a little bit of black pepper, salami, mortadella, aged provolone, and
you got to try it. That's how I know I went to a good restaurant. You know why I use that rule of thumb? Because usually if the bread's good, everything else should be.
I agree. I think a lot of people skimp on the bread thing, and like you said, it's not easy to get. Like a lot of the problem with the bread business, which I've learned because we've gotten to the point, you know, where we're doing 1,000 loaves a weekend. It's perishable. Yeah.
Holy crap! God bless you, man. That's like, how long? I mean, you're amazing because first of all, you do so much stuff on your own. You know, produce, manage people, write stuff, bake bread. I'm like, how many hours of sleep do you get? I'm like, whoa, I love this stuff.
But it goes in waves, you know, like I'm not always producing stuff. I'm not always managing people. It goes in waves through the years. And I think of these things like projects and, you know, it's like that in terms of the producing, there's so many things that go into that. It's like conceiving a show, pitching it. It may get picked up, it may not. You could write something on spec. It's hard to write 8 hours a day.
Oh God, yeah. Because
you know, I probably have 2 hours in me at max. And or either way, I still need to break it up. Like if you do a good 2-hour session, I need to step away. I need to step away.
Yeah.
And like the bakery thing for me is like another project. We try to keep it to the weekends. So it takes us like, we'll start actually tonight. Tonight's Thursday. So tonight with the sourdough stuff, which is naturally leavened, it's got to be mixed tonight and rise overnight and bulk proof. And then the stuff starts getting baked tomorrow morning through the night, goes through very early into Saturday morning. And then Saturday morning, we're at like two really big markets.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jim, that's another thing I'm not good at. I mean, the only thing I'm good at is comedy, acting, and writing. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts when I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
I worked there for 2 weeks. I got fired. You know what happened? I thought it was, you know, like having the creative minded artists and actors do. I started making donuts to a square. The back over there, right?
It might.
And this is in the late 70s, right? He goes, what is wrong? I go, well, people probably want to change over. He goes, yeah, we can have a changeover too. You're out of here.
I think you might be onto something, man. I would welcome square donuts. I believe in the change.
Hey, thanks, but Jim, I was going to ask you a very serious question about the business itself, right? Acting and comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a really nice guy. That's been always very honest with me, and I totally respect that. You've always been upfront. We need a lot more people like you in this because, okay, let me ask you something, right? Does the industry like arrogant people or they just shy away? Because it seems like some people that are big can be arrogant. And usually I find if they're arrogant, maybe their representation may be just as well.
I don't think the industry cares either way. I don't think that they dislike arrogant people as long as whoever's in front of them has the ability to make them money.
Well,
that's really what I believe. And it's like the industry, that term is a term I don't personally love.
I know.
I think it generalizes everybody into this one type of person. And I think that
it's not at all.
You know, and it's a comedy term, especially.
Oh God, they love throwing it around.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, and they're really nice people.
When I met you, it's like you were nice, you were very, you know what I mean, cordial. And it wasn't like that, like some people like, you know, like, I'll tell you one funny, when I first started this in 1992, when I was meeting agents a couple of years in, but those were like the old time guys, like, they were like, hey buddy, give me 150 headshots. I'm going to make you a star, buddy. I'm like, whoa.
Right.
It's a lot different now.
You know, like I didn't come up through agency or anyone really. And I think that the people who come up through that way, which by the way, one of my sons is kind of doing that.
Oh, nice.
You know, those people, listen, I always worked hard and a lot of hours and very focused, but they are at the big agencies, they have to churn based on how much money's coming in.
Oh yeah.
And it's a whole different mindset. And maybe those people come off as arrogant. I don't know, but I'd hate to generalize them too.
No, you're right, because like that's the problem I always had with people sometimes. It's like either I would find someone to work with me, they're really nice people who worked hard, but they had no clout. They could really help me as much as I could have used, or they were gigantic and they had like all huge people. And I understand they had to worry about the huge people first before anybody.
That's an issue. That's a big issue in the business, especially in comedy. I mean, that is the way it is right now. You're either like you're really an earner, and that's the only possible way to get those big agents right now. There's no in-betweens. Like when I first started, there was more of the smaller management companies. They were common in New York in the late 80s and 90s, or more common than now. I don't think they even exist now.
No, because I remember years ago, Jim, the Gersh agency, people like that would develop new people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, like, I'll give you a good example. And I have a friend in California that I went to high school with. He's a writer. He has a specialized job in the agency. He works for William Morse and Deborah, right? But his job is to find scripts for his clients. You know what I mean? Like he has like 3 people. He has Denzel Washington, Jim Carrey, and somebody else of that caliber, right? And he went to bat for me in LA. You know what they told him? We know his work, we like him, but when he starts making the kind of money Daniel Tosh does, we'll come in with him.
Right. Yeah, that is the way it is. They were
like,
honest about that.
And that's just the way it is. But you know what? That's why I started something like this, because we're in an age of empowerment now. You know what I mean? You if you're sitting back on your ass doing nothing, it's your fault.
100%.
I wish the bakery, I guaranteed you eventually, you'll be delivering worldwide something eventually, probably.
It's been about it's coming on. It's 2.5 years now, and we are like constantly evaluating what is our step, if there is a next step, or do we just keep it a hobby? You know, it's something that we think about. It's a tough business.
It looks so delicious, and I know it is being Italian because I love the commercials you did, especially with your son. You were teaching him how to say something in Italian, and he was like,
"Yeah, Svrujadel."
I can't even see. Can you say it again?
Svrujadel. It's an Italian. It's like a lobster tail. It's an Italian light fluffy pastry with a ricotta mixture inside.
Jim,
Yeah.
how were you in school as a student? I was very awkward and shy.
Well, I was a music person, so I really just like, and I kind of still feel like this in ways, like we all have choices that we make in how we spend our time. And my choice was not making sure I did really well in school. I did okay. I did okay.
I was like shy. Like I was like, if the book report was called, I was like, oh no, not me. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
being
no,
a
I
comedy
guess I
actor
was.
got me out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of shy people that are actors, right? I think I consider myself pretty shy, especially when I was a younger adult. I like juggling different things. Maybe I have ADD and I like to work on different projects. So I like to break my day up into, sure, I'm accountable and doing the best job I can have for the couple clients that I work with. I like to talk to my producing partner, Tom Stiletti. We talk throughout the whole day and we talk, about our projects together and come up with strategies. I love strategizing different things. And I like the same way I like to strategize with the bakery and what our next move is or how we're going to get the word out. And I kind of like the social media thing of the bread thing. It's been a creative outlet because one of the things about the entertainment business is like, if you audition and try to get agents and you're waiting around, right? So when do you get the opportunity to do something? So, and that's why I create something. Yeah. So I have a podcast, where I talk to people as well. And I have really cool conversations with people that I wouldn't have met unless I was doing the podcast. I love that. Yeah. Just like, I love networking. I really find that I do like people, finding different creative outlets kind of shows. Have you guys seen Yellowstone?
No.
But I put it up with Breaking Bad. It's that good.
What do you think of Don't Call Saul? I like Odenkirk. He's funny, but I didn't like it as much as, I don't know. I mean,
I agree. I agree. I mean, people love it. I maybe I didn't give it enough time.
Me too.
I know my kids love it. But I felt it was a little slower, and I know they probably did it for a very different budget, and the goal was different in making it, but it didn't appeal to me as much, and I didn't find that I had to watch every one of them.
Without Walter was kind of like, it fell flat for some. I think I hope you don't want to kill me now.
Bob Odenkirk's a genius. He really is
a genius, right? It's like. And my favorite characters in that show, I felt bad about Hank. He was a great character.
He's awesome.
I don't know the actor's name. I should know him.
Hank. I don't remember who played
Hank.
Hank.
He was Walt's brother-in-law. There was a DEA agent.
Yeah. I think it was Dean Norris.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you see The Irishman? I watched it 9 times.
No.
You haven't seen it?
I couldn't get into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of found some things a little weird with it, but like, there's an actor in there. He was on Boardwalk Empire. He played a character named Sally Bugs.
Okay.
In The Irishman. I forgot his name, but I wish I would audition for that because like the character Sally Bugs was a quirky, goofy guy like me, but he was also a mobster. You know what I mean? It's like,
interesting.
And it was fun to watch. But the thing is, 3.5 hours though, Jim. That's a little insane.
That's crazy. That's one of the reasons I didn't watch it. I don't have that attention span.
I watched it in 2 nights each time, so I spent 18 hours of my life watching it 9 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love Pesci that much. That's why I adore him.
He's amazing.
Have you ever met him? I would love to meet him one day.
I've never met him. But he's just absolutely amazing. So are you still hitting the clubs every night?
You know what? Since the pandemic, I haven't because you know why? I have major heart disease and chronic bronchitis when this came out. But I've been writing up a storm because You know what's really cool? I know I told you this a couple of years ago. Jenna had a CD that wound up being #9 at Sirius XM. This is in 2019. I've been writing up a storm. I want to produce another one because it was so much fun to do.
Absolutely.
I got to get back out there, but
do you have the energy to do it?
I definitely think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I love to write. I just adore writing comedy, especially and when it flows, it's like the River Jordan.
Absolutely.
That's a cool background you got. I love that.
Thanks. A little kind of studio thing at my place. Because
oh, nice. How long did it take? Because I'm like, I wish I could. I'm not mechanically. I got so many things I can't do, but I'd like to do comedy.
This again, like I've been doing my podcast for about 6 months now. Put out one every week. So I probably started it 8 to 12 months ago, and this where I am right now, I just started using about a month.
Such a great background because it's like it catches you right away, and it's comfortable. You know what I mean? That's people want to see.
Yeah, and it makes me feel like I'm going to work. Like you do these things at home and stuff. I come to this area, I set up the lighting, I do my thing, and I feel like I'm doing a show. So I kind of.
Who's your favorite comic out of all people? I like Andrew Dice Clay a lot.
I think he's pretty cool. When I was a kid and a teenager, I would. My father would always work on New Year's Eve, and I'd be home with my friends. We'd have a sleepover, and we would watch George Carlin on HBO.
Oh, nice!
And I loved it, and he always was someone I looked up to and thought he was amazing as a comedian and the type of comedy. And down the road, I got to meet him, which was really cool.
Oh, nice! I wish that had.
Yeah, he was really nice, really, really nice, and generous with his time. So yeah, I would say he's my favorite comedian. There's also so many different styles of comedy now.
Especially today, absolutely.
Yeah, so I do appreciate all different styles. So it also depends on the style.
And comedy is so subjective, just like music is. Am I right or wrong? Because some people are going to like this, some people may not. And I don't know. I mean, I like Dice because I got to meet him a couple of times.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between Dice character and Andrew Silverstein. Two different people and I got to meet the Silverstein character, and he's like a teddy bear compared to Clay. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's only part of him. You know what I mean? People think when he first came out, they give him a hard time and doing this and that to him, but it was comedy.
Yeah. And there's so many good comedians, and just take anyone who could stand up there for an hour and just murder and kill. The guys like Tom Papa, Mark Normand, I love.
Me too.
Dave Attell.
Dave Attell's an animal. I seen him the first time I saw the comedy, and I went to the Boston Comedy Club to see him because I was went to open mic. He was just working on stuff. This is like 1993. He was probably a comic about 6 or 7 years at that time, right? Jim, he rocked that building. I mean, it shook.
Yeah.
He killed so much, right? And I was only doing comedy a year, and I got a lot of stuff ahead of me. You got to just go back to that drawing board.
Yeah.
Right? And he's always been nice to me. I love Attell.
He's a good guy. And then there's a guy like the project I'm most proud about is by a comedian that a lot of people don't know, but he's known as the godfather of Boston comedy, Don Gavin.
I know that name. I heard about him. I never met him, but I know who he is for sure.
He was like one of when the Boston comedy scene first started, and it had like one of the greatest comedy scenes ever. And Stephen Wright was doing it then, and all these guys, but Don was one of the guys, and he inspired all the Bill Burr and Joe Rogan and all those people. So he put out an album many, many years ago that never really got distribution, and I distributed it about before the pandemic, maybe 6 months before the pandemic. And then I went with him and this guy Jimmy Dunn. We took Don out to Los Angeles, and he did Rogan, and he did Burr, and he did Maron, and did this whole promotional tour. And it was just like, to see this guy finally get his due was really cool.
I love when I hear that, because especially if you've been around I was going to ask you very interesting. Just made me think of something right now, right? Like comics are like housewives. I remember when I first started, right? Like they're like, dude, did you see this guy go to killing, right? They, you know what I mean, all over the place, right? And I remember people I started with. For some reason, it's like everybody goes, they're going to be huge, right? And for some reason, it didn't happen. And then there are other people like they overlook, like, yeah, whatever, and they became gigantic. Yeah. I mean, is there a specific why people don't just? I mean, I think a lot has to do, especially now, with the audience loving you now, especially these days.
This is a difficult topic. You know, there's different ways that a comedian can make it, and especially back, you know, again, my contacts and beginning in the comedy business was in 1990.
Well,
so around then and before and a little after, you always needed, besides stand-up, like even if you were a stand-up before that, you became really popular. How did you become popular? Because you were on the Tonight Show.
Oh, yeah.
2 channels on the air, right? So you always like, it's very difficult to become a household name as a stand-up comic only. It is possible.
Oh, yeah.
But think about how many people in the world have done it. You know, so that's the thing. Other people cross over from having a show on the air, right? Seinfeld, Ray Romano. Other people, you know, do it from podcasts now is one way, but also that's also difficult because the market's saturated. So, you know, it's tough. There's a lot of really funny people.
They're going to be huge, and we all thought, and then somebody else they overlooked, and it's. But today, thank God, we can empower ourselves because.
I would say it's hard for me to pick. I love writing in entertainment. I love writing. I love being on the set when I have that opportunity and the camaraderie of working with other talented artists in all different facets and departments. I hope to be able to do that again. So I would say that experience is a very cool experience. I've had, you know, I created a show called Benders that was on IFC that had Andrew Schultz and Chris DiStefano. You know, I've written and I'm pitching something by the end of the year to HBO and Netflix with my partner, and we hope to get a sale, but you never know. And you know, kind of constantly working on new things. But yeah, I only write like television, and I have written one feature. I developed a feature based on a book a couple years ago. Yeah, but I really right now. I just love TV. I think there's just an amazing opportunity for good TV.
You got great actors and great writing now. It's like it really changed in the past 10 years or more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's high level now. It's like, because like with Breaking Bad, I know I keep bringing that back, but I'm using it as an example because the writing was high level and the acting was high level. And it was just such a great balance. And it came together.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why it's in most of the top 10 lists, right? It's just so well done.
Right now, really good writers are golden. Am I right or wrong? Because they're like gold now. Am I right or wrong? If you can find someone that's like that, that's one thing. I think it's really hard to find great stuff. Am I right or wrong at that level of writing? Because some stuff is good, not to criticize anybody, but some stuff is just better than others because you know you just got to point this out in the script. You know what I mean? Just one quick thing. Did you ever see the show Hell on Wheels?
I have not.
It's a show about the Old West from like the 1860s.
Okay.
But you would feel like you were there with Jesse James.
Wow.
So good. Because that's one thing, Jim, I noticed about TV that I love. I'll watch something on Netflix, right? And within like 5 or 6 minutes, this has to be good for me. The pace and how fast TV has to, you know what I mean? That's why I love television, because of the pace of it. You know what I mean? Like movies can drag on.
Yeah, some movies can. They have the freedom to do that. With TV,
pace is so important, right, Jim? I think even in television and stand-up and everything, you know what I mean? it's very important to have that, for sure, pace, right?
Yeah, you want to keep the viewer or person in the audience engaged. You don't want them to drift off, and you want to keep them the whole time, and then they're going to want to come back next time. That's the
Absolutely,
whole act of storytelling.
I really appreciate
Thank you,
having
guys.
you on. You're a super busy guy. And Jim, is there anything you want to plug?
Check out our podcast, Bread for the People. It's available everywhere you get your podcasts. Yeah, that's my plug for right now.
Thanks. It was one of the nice. That I'm so glad. I mean, I only seen you once. I only never really met you in person, but except when I got fat, except when I laced into somebody in Caroline's, which I shouldn't.
That's
you
awesome.
That's how you cool right away. You like give me a thumbs up laughing, right? Because I was like wondering, oh no. I mean, I'll give advice to people now. Never lace into anybody during an audition like that. Am I right or wrong? No.
Yeah, exactly. That's all good though. We live and learn. Maybe
Where
one day.
are you from? I meant to ask you, Rich. I'm so sorry.
Long Island. Long
Oh,
Island,
nice.
New
My
York.
cousins, I spent a lot of time out there. My cousins lived in Massapequa when I was a kid. In Park, I think.
Yeah.
And I love Long Island because it's like, especially like, I think comedy out there in that audience is fantastic.
It's great. It's a great town, great area, and they love comedy out here. So it's all
But anyway,
good.
Jim, I'm sorry for babbling so much, but we're going to let you go. But thank you
All
so
right,
much.
guys.
It was wonderful
All right.
having you on here.
Good luck with everything.